Come with me, I'm headed down the right path. I feel so brave, my head held high and I'm showing class. Dreams ignited, every day I truly give my best. I'm thriving excitedly to be the very best version of myself. I'm so bold and I'm so brilliant. I feel amazing, I feel so resilient. I'm so bold and I'm so brilliant. I'm so amazing, I feel so resilient.
Welcome to the Chundria Brownlow Show. I'm your host, Dr. Chundria Brownlow, and today's episode is all about resilience, second chances, and the power of reclaiming your ambition. My guest, Dr. Jen Moran-Kobes, is a shining example of what it means to embrace a second act. She's built a successful dental practice, then made the courageous decision to step away for 17 years to raise her children. And during that time, she also faced and overcame breast cancer, a journey that has reshaped her outlook on life, family, and purpose. But her story doesn't stop here. With grit and determination, Dr. Jen renewed her license, retook the boards, and reestablished herself in the field. Today, she's thriving once again in dentistry while inspiring women everywhere to believe it's never too late to pursue their dreams. Her journey is heartfelt, powerful, and exactly the kind of story our audience connects with. So settle in for a conversation that just might change the way you see your own path forward. Dr. Jen Moran-Kobes, welcome to the Chundria Show. How are you today?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you so much. Well, it's so great. We're both here in Chicago, which is always a treat. Looking into your world, and I wondered, after taking that 17-year hiatus, I was curious of what drew you to dentistry in the first place many moons ago.
Well, many moons ago, my first thought about dentistry ended up in high school, and they make you take the test that determines your career. And up until that point, I was going to be a pediatrician, always. That was always what I was going to do. And it came up dentist. And my honest reaction was, yuck, why would anybody want to do that? So it was not my original goal and thought. As I pursued my pre-med degree, I realized, okay, I really like children. I really don't want to see them sick. I don't want to be the one to hurt them. I don't want the long hours and the residency. And then maybe the final deciding factor as to explore dentistry might have been there was physics on the MCAT, but not on the dental at school admissions test, the DAT. So kind of as a fluke, I took it and did well enough to apply to school, and so applied early. But the passion part started when I took a sculpture class in undergrad and during my pre-med courses, and my first sculpture I did, the teacher said it looks like a tooth, and I really thought it was some sort of a flame or some abstract kind of thing. So my passion became my science, my art, and knowing that I was good at the aesthetics and that I could really create my own schedule.
I love that story, and I love that dentistry was like already a part of you, was already shaping into your future, figuratively and realistically, but you were molding your future, I think before you even fully embraced it. And so I appreciate you sharing those early origins. You're part of your origin story, and then you worked in the field for 17 years. So can you walk me through how that experience was? How it was before you made the decision to care for your family. How was it practicing dentistry for you all these years?
Wow. I first, everybody starts kind of working for somebody else and associating, and I knew that I had a lot to learn. And so for 2 years, I was with one guy, and I learned a lot of great ways to do dentistry, because dental school is one experience. And then when you get out and you have to use your hands and real life experiences, it takes practice, and you have to have a lot of hands-on experience. And then another 2 years, and I kind of learned what not to do. I knew what I did not want in my future and decided it was time to buy my own. I feel like at 28, it was my first midlife crisis, and said, hang on, I don't want to work for somebody else my whole life. I know what I want. I know what I want to do. And I tried to pursue a few different practices to purchase and found it to be quite difficult, right? It's hard to buy a practice when you're a 27-year-old single mother with nothing but debt to her name. So when I found Water Tower Place, it was my friends who said, hey, there's this practice downtown. It's in a great location, but it's not in great shape. I called and talked to them, and I made an offer over the phone. And of course, they said, come on in. And so when I went to see Water Tower Place, if you don't know Chicago, which you do, right? You know, it's right on the Mag Mile. It has been an iconic building and shopping mall for many years. And so to be in the building, I knew it was a fantastic location to begin with. And when I saw it, I realized that it had not been touched or redecorated or updated since about 1972. There was shag carpeting. The doctor was sick and in the hospital, and it was being run by his nephew at the front desk and temporary hygienists and temporary dentists. So I just got a feeling because patients were coming in and out. It was very busy. Patients were happy. I said, hang on, guys, let me come and work this while we try to figure out what to do. And you stay with me to this hygienist, Michelle, who is temping, and you stay at the front desk. And then I continued to just add people to the practice. So as I pursued that, I was working it, keeping it alive, and trying to get a loan and figure out the appraisal rate. And there's so much more to the story, right? Do you want me to keep going and how I got
Yeah, I'm having my popcorn, right? Yeah.
All right. It was appraised so low because they came in and they said this practice is worth nothing but the hard materials that are in the building. And that came in at $17,000. The practice was asking for $350,000. So somewhere in between, I felt was a good price. My accountant and my attorney both said, no way, you're out. This is a bad business move. Don't do it. But I had a gut feeling, and I saw these patients, and they were great patients from good employers with insurance that just was subpar, right? The whole insurance was something called DMO, which is like HMO today, which we don't even have DMO anymore. But I thought, okay, I could see these patients, I could educate them about their insurance, I could educate the employer about why dental insurance could be better, and I had nothing to lose. I had nothing to my name. So I finally found, after multiple rejections, one bank that would give me a loan, and he kind of laughed and said, just come back tomorrow, honey, and show me 10 years projections of how you're going to cover all your income, your expenses, and pay this loan up. And so with graph paper and a calculator and a pencil, I kind of guessed as to what it might look like based on the papers. And then I got that 100% loan. No down payment because I didn't have a down payment. I just had loan debt. And he basically said, all right, I don't want you in that mall. I want you to come in and out the service elevator until this is paid off. And then we did. And so with that passion and the team that I was already creating, we were able to grow the practice. We had a plan every 2 years. The first 2 years would be off DMO. The second 2 years would be off PPO. The fifth and sixth year now, we are going to be off insurance altogether and then take reimbursement. And we are still that way today. So that really grew the practice, and it was bigger and better than I could have ever even imagined.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. But then there came a point where you decided to step away, and by now you've had your children. Were there any fears or doubts at this moment in time that you carried about leaving your practice behind? Even did it feel like it was going to be temporary, or did you think I may be gone a while?
I totally thought it would be temporary, but I knew temporary at that point was a couple years. It was not just, a few months. I had done every type of schedule until that point, and now I had one child in dental school, and then I had 3 children in 2 years while I was building the practice, and the twins turned out to be ADD and ADHD. So I realized, okay, something is different here, and mom needs to be the one to be here to handle the struggles, good or bad, right? It needed to be mom. So I decided to sell the practice and focus on the kids, not knowing how long it would take. I immediately hired a life coach because this had been my entire identity. I went to dental school early. I was getting a BS DDS. I took on a practice with nothing, just debt. I did an expansion, got that paid off. I did feel it was a good time to do it because the practice had done everything I needed it to do. I had brought in 2 more dentists, and I could do it. And I remember I called my husband at the time and said, I think I'm going to sell. And he said, whatever you think's appropriate. And I did. And then I hired a life coach because I thought I would fall apart, and I did not fall apart. It was nice to have the backup to say, this is your choice. This is what you want to do. Lean into it. Be the mom you want to be. And I was the room mom. I was the backstage coach. I was the T-ball coach. I took them to therapy. We did the reading, all the things. and it was so hard. And people would say, how do you love it? I'd be like, I have the hardest, most unrelenting bosses I've ever had, but it was the right decision, especially for the kids. And for me, it allowed me to have a chapter in my life that really you may not have expected.
I love that. I love that you were there for them, because that's, as a mother, like you ripped off one hat to put on that one, and to prioritize, being there for your children, which is really admirable. And a lot of career professionals may not even make that choice. They may say, well, somebody else has to, your dad has to step up, because I have a practice and a business to run. So I admire you for making that choice, no matter how difficult it might have been for you. But then when did you get to the point, where were your children at in terms of like their ages and development when you said it's time to go back? Were they adults at this point?
I had three in college at that point when I decided it was time to go back. There were a couple moments of deciding to go back. So when the twins were about to graduate high school and go to college, I had already decided, okay, I'm going to go back. And as I started to pursue my license, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I took a step back again to treat that. And at that moment, I thought, well, maybe I'm not going to go back. Maybe I'll focus on my health, and the kids will grow up and go off to college, and all I'll do is visit them and take care of them. But then as I went through the breast cancer treatment, I realized, okay, this is not a death sentence. This is just going to be an every 6 months checkup kind of thing after the major treatment at the beginning. And it also taught me that life was short, and you should really do what, really lights you up. So that's when I decided to go back to pursuing it. The kids were now all in college, and they told me I needed to retake boards fully. At first I was offended. I was kind of like, don't you know who I am? I'm a great famous cosmetic dentist. But then I thought, okay, it's been a long time. It's time. So I studied, and I took the written, and I took the clinical, and passed the boards, as now my kids are graduating from college. And I got my final licensure in February, as my youngest daughter, was about to graduate college in May.
I commend you for that, because a lot of people might have turned back at that. A lot of people might have been like, "Oh, I have to do the boards over." Like, absolutely not. I'm not going through that again. And you took it on the chin. You took it like a champ. You got through it. Years went by, but like, you still met that goal. And that's the beauty about who you are, and what I love about how you set goals. Like, no matter what it takes, you get to what you see. You see a vision, and you don't stop until you get there. You light a trail for yourself, and you don't stop. You're really relentless that way. And it feels like that's how you approach motherhood, the same way you do your career. And then you have this breast cancer diagnosis. And so at the time of finding out that you had breast cancer, you're fighting this. What did it teach you about life and ambition? Because you've already been so ambitious, and in both respects, of ambitious being like, I want to be there for my children. I want to watch them grow up. I want to make sure I'm present for them, school, all the things. And then for your career, you've single-handedly built this career for yourself. You chose this. You were destined to be in dentistry. And then here comes breast cancer. What did it redefine life and ambition for you?
It really did. It was almost a shock. Like, you look at it just like, no, I'm as healthy as I've ever been. This can't be real. How could this possibly be happening? And then I think you kind of touched on it. I pursued healing just like I would my career or motherhood. My first doctors I went to here, I didn't like what they were saying. I didn't like their attitude, their chairside manner. And so I had a girlfriend who had really great treatment at the Mayo Clinic. And so I called Mayo, and I must say their systems are phenomenal. Every medical system should be based on the way they run things. They called immediately. They knew the urgency. They got me right in. They communicate department to department. If you need oncology and they know you're out of state and you need radiology, they get it all together for you. So I was very happy with the way my breast cancer was treated, and the way Mayo handled it, and really the way I handled it. And I felt that in the back of my head, I always have a saying, be the woman you want your daughters to be and your son to marry. So that kind of leads your decision. Do you want your child to fall apart and say, oh no, woe is me? Or do you want them to go, all right, let's gather the facts, do what needs to be done, and keep moving forward? And so that kind of propels you in the right direction.
I love that. You're so strong. Oh my goodness. And I loved like how fervently you pursued coming back. Just like you said, the same way you pursued your healing journey, the same way you were like, oh, don't like the way you were talking to me. I need a second, third, fifth opinion. And I'm glad that you landed on Mayo and they treated you really well there, you know. But as you battled breast cancer, how did that shape your return to dentistry? Did you feel like it was too much to focus on healing and to return? And how are you today?
I did slow it down a little bit. I did make sure that I was fully in remission, just getting the checks every 6 months. And so I decided that when I go back to dentistry, that I would not do it as fervently. It really can be intoxicating and all-consuming. There's so much to learn. There's so much to do. You could consume yourself 24 hours a day with dentistry and learning it and going to classes and running the business. So I am now associating at both practices, so I get to kind of come and go. And that has been an unexpected relief. And I think with the breast cancer in the background, you're like, all right, I don't need to take on all of it, right? I can give my input. I can enjoy it. When I have a stressful day, I think, okay, your choice. Don't have to do this. Don't have to kill yourself doing it. Do it the best you can. Enjoy it. Take a step back, kick back and sit and chat with that patient for a little while, get to know them. A patient has a problem. Just yesterday, I had a patient, she would not get numb. I thought for sure it was close to the nerve. I said, let's stop right here. Let's walk you down to the endodontist. We had a long chat. She's like, you don't have to walk with me. I'm like, yes, I do. Let's go down. Let's go meet them. So I think it has changed my approach in that it's almost all passion. It's not something I have to do. It's not a career that I have to get my name out there for. It's just something I love now, and I think that comes across in the patients too. They really respond to that.
It sounds like it. Like it sounds like you mentioned chairside manner that you didn't like from someone else, but it sounds like you're giving that care that you feel like every patient deserves, and also the care that you feel like you deserve as a patient. And I love that everybody that sits in your chair that meets you, you're giving them that undivided attention. They feel not only respected, but they feel very cared for, and so, and just thinking back to everything you've been through, in all these years, if you could go back and speak to yourself during that season of returning to the practice, what would you say to yourself?
Wow, I would say it is going to be almost impossibly difficult, but just keep going. Take it little chunks at a time, do the best you can, and enjoy the journey. And you'll get where you want to go.
Love that. Beautiful. I mean, and we all, and you've gone through something really difficult, very challenging. You've come out on top. You're here smiling. You're at work. You're seeing patients, and in moderation, like when I need to take a pause. You're getting your checkups. You're taking care of yourself. And that's something that a lot of people, struggle with, giving ourselves that type of engagement for ourselves. What do I need? Prioritizing ourselves. And so I'd just like you to take a reflective pause here for anybody that's watching, since many of us face these seasons in life, where it just stops us in our tracks. You get some news that just blindsides you. You don't know your next step's going to be. You've run out of resources, and sometimes it is just literally, what's the next step? I may not know the next 10 steps, but if I know the next step, and just hearing your story just reminds me of like how resilient we all can be, how much more resilient we can be. Speak to anyone watching that feels they're struggling to push through their challenges. If you could, anybody watching in whatever life is throwing at them today.
I think everybody has all of those challenges, right? Some of that seem unsurmountable, something that will derail your life and define your life, and you have that choice to respond to it, right? A lot of the things that we feel as unsurmountable obstacles or pressures or some sort of tragedy that is placed upon us, you can actually just not hold it. Just don't take it, right? Understand your role in it and work through your part. Somebody else's drama can be their own drama, right? There was, I think one of my coaches once said something about, don't take the monkey, right? Somebody has a monkey on their back, they're trying to give it to you. Don't. Leave it on their back. Don't take it. That's one. And two, when it's so bad, right, and you can barely breathe. Take it 1 minute at a time. You know what success is? I'm still breathing. The next step is I got out of bed. I took a shower. Yay! Celebrate every little step because some things in life are that bad, right? And you just keep pushing just a little bit every day. And you will finally get to where you're going. It's when you stop or you lay down or you let somebody else impose their life situation on you that you give up. Don't give up. Just keep going. And don't allow the negative to live inside you. Don't hold it. Give it away.
Give it away. Great words of wisdom. And there's definitely power in your pivot. I even admire how you took the boards over. Was it significant changes from when you took everything the first time? Had the industry changed much? Or was it like a bit of a cakewalk for you?
It definitely was not a cakewalk because so much of what you learn in dentistry, in dental school, you don't use in practice. So to go back to what they teach you in dental school is just a lot of academia and so many things that you had to memorize, you had to know to pass the test, to pass the boards that you never come across when you're practicing. So it was hard to learn it all again. It was hard to pass the boards because you're using a mannequin now. They don't have real live patients, which we used to have, which I admit it would be really hard to find that perfect patient for each of the cases. So you have this now plastic head that you're using, which does not look nor feel like real teeth, and they pretend it does. Was it different? I would say everything was nearly exactly the same, which is a problem because in dentistry it really isn't. There's a lot more modern technology out there when you're practicing, but the boards had not really come that far forward.
It seems like your mindset is so strong, like that no matter what you come across, it starts with your mind. Do you have mantras or like how do you embrace this second act? And I say that in the best way, not
Yeah.
an offensive way, but how do you embrace it? Do you have mantras? Do you practice gratitude? Do you journal? Do you inspire others? What like keeps you going? How do you like fill your cup up when you give so much to others?
Oh, that's beautiful. I do not journal. I do have mantras. I have a lot of mantras going through my head. There's your life is the result of the choices you make. I heard that on the Oprah show once from a recovered drug addict. And for some reason, those simple words, which sound like we all know, really resounded in me. Like every single thing, right? What did you eat for breakfast? Did you have 2 cups of coffee or one? Did you get to work on time? Every choice makes your life what it is. So that is one that kind of stays in my mind. It keeps you accountable too. Nothing is happening to you. Everything is a choice. I have, I have so many really that live in my head. Be the woman you want your daughters to be and your sons to marry guides a lot of your decisions.
I'm gonna borrow that one. That's a good one. I love that one.
You've got Eleanor Roosevelt's quote about, be afraid but do it anyway, or something like that, right? And that you're afraid all the time. There's a little moment where somebody asks you to be on a podcast, or a patient wants you to do a procedure that's really long and really hard, and you think, okay, I can do it. I've done it before, right? And you just have to be mentally prepared. And it's scary, right? It's scary. I just moved my daughter to Paris on Saturday. Totally scary, not just for her, but for me. But go, enjoy, step off the edge and see what happens. Maybe you'll fly, right? So that's always kind of sticking in the back of my head. And, once you have that breast cancer diagnosis, you realize you just don't have forever to sit back and analyze and question and all the what ifs. And sometimes you don't even know how, you just do. And the answers come to you. You can hire other people. And I haven't always thought this way. Definitely had moments in my life early on where, oh, woe is me, and I'm the victim, and all this is happening to me, and it's all so hard, and doesn't anybody want to help me? And you come to that realization, you're like, oh, I'm all by myself. I can do this. I don't need anybody else. And then I've had lots of therapy, I've read lots of books, and you take little tidbits from everything. The one that also goes through my head a lot is, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that if you really think about that, it's so true. Sometimes it takes this inflated ego to be able to do the things you want to do, right? What makes you believe you can succeed that way? What makes you think you can take a practice that's appraised at $17,000 and you can turn it into a multi-million-dollar practice? You're just a girl with debt. Who are you? And I don't know who I was except somebody with a feeling and decided to follow it.
A feeling, a vision. I can do hard things. I can get
Yeah.
through anything, and just believing in the power of yourself that you can surmount. And you've proven that again and again. And now you're an inspiration to myself and so many other people that, I think we'll all look at our challenges a little differently, going forward, that I can do this. I can
hope
get
so.
through this, and it's also really passionate when it comes to chasing your dreams, because you were in your 20s, like, with those visions, we're in high school with those visions of what you wanted to achieve, and you just keep envisioning and you keep going after, whether the challenges come or not, like, you still go out and you chase those dreams. And so I hope also too that anyone watching this, whatever your dreams are, whatever that thing that's on the horizon for you, or whatever, even if it feels unattainable, even if it's a loan at the bank, or a new career, you want to go back to school, like, whatever those things are, that challenges aside, you will get them. And I feel like your story can resonate with a lot of people, men and women included, of all ages also. Would you agree with that?
100%. Absolutely. And, I think one of the things is people focus on women, like, oh, you're a woman doing this. And I never felt like I was a woman dentist. That's one of the benefits of being in dental school. There is nothing different between the way a man does it or the way a woman does it. You're just a dentist. All the things have to be the same. And I think that we don't need to define ourselves as separate. And men also need to worry about what is their role in their families. If they choose to have a family, they have to figure out how that fits into their career. And I think this newer generation is going to do a better job at that than I did. I still was coming out of the tail end of we can do it all, but the men still were doing what they were doing before. And so it became, wait a second, I'm doing it all, but there's a partner that's not. So I think this new world, men and women, all human beings, are equal and capable and should be pursuing their dreams, whatever they are.
Absolutely true. I couldn't agree more. I've enjoyed this conversation. And before we wrap up today, I have a few lightning round questions before we close out. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. The first one is, what's a song that instantly lifts your mood?
Oh, wow. I'm so not a music person. Let's see. Wow. You know what's a great song? And it's not necessarily uplifting, but What a Wonderful World,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just, I don't even know if that's a title, but it's such a pleasant song and happy, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. First thing you do when you need a reset?
Take a bath. I take a bath every day if I can. Little magnesium. I have a TV right over the bathtub. It's awesome.
That's great. And last one. What's one word to describe this season of your life?
Powerful.
Yes, you are powerful.
Come with me, I'm headed down the right path. I feel so brave.